Nostalgia is one of the strangest feelings humans experience. It is both sweet and painful, comforting yet haunting, like a ghost of happiness that we can never fully touch again. The word itself comes from Greek roots, nostos meaning homecoming and algos meaning pain. Nostalgia literally means the pain of returning home, and yet most of the time we are not even longing for an actual place or time, but for an idealized version of our past, a version that never existed exactly as we remember it. What we chase is not reality but memory, and even more than memory, it is emotion. Nostalgia is less about going back to the past and more about how the past continues to live inside of us, shaping how we see the present and imagine the future. When you hear an old song from your childhood, it is not just sound hitting your ears, it is a time machine that pulls you back into who you once were, how the world looked to you then, the innocence or the struggles you carried, and the emotions you did not even know were still hiding within you. Nostalgia is a reminder that the past is never truly gone, it is archived inside us in fragments, waiting for the right key to unlock it again. In the 17th century, nostalgia was not seen as a poetic feeling but as a disease. Doctors believed it was a form of mental illness, especially among soldiers who were stationed far from their homeland and could not stop yearning for home. They described it as dangerous, even life-threatening. Today our view has shifted. We recognize nostalgia as universal, almost unavoidable, and even at times therapeutic. Yet the idea that nostalgia is connected to suffering was not entirely wrong. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned against clinging to the past, calling it a sickness of history. He argued that living too much in memory prevents us from embracing the present moment and from creating the future we are meant to shape. To Nietzsche, nostalgia was an anchor tied to our feet, dragging us backward when we should be walking forward. But Søren Kierkegaard, a philosopher of faith and existence, saw value in looking back. He believed reflection gives meaning to our forward motion, that to understand life we must sometimes glance in the rearview mirror. Nostalgia sits right in the tension between these two views. Too much of it can paralyze us in longing, yet without it we lose part of what makes us human. Modern culture thrives on nostalgia, so much so that it has become a business model. Movies are constantly rebooted, video games are remastered, old songs are sampled and turned into new hits. Why does this work so well? Because nostalgia sells. It bypasses logic and hits us in the heart instantly, reminding us of safety, comfort, and familiarity in a world that changes too quickly for us to hold on to anything for long. Think about why a 30-second clip of a cartoon intro from your childhood can flood you with joy. Why a grainy photo can feel warmer than a perfect digital image, because the memory is not just about what you see, but about who you were when you saw it. Nostalgia is deeply tied to identity, and that is why industries exploit it so effectively. But here lies the danger. Living too much in nostalgia can be a form of escapism. When we only consume reboots, remakes, and retro culture, we are recycling old meaning instead of creating new stories. Nostalgia can become a trap disguised as comfort, and philosophers would argue that too much of it is a kind of death, not of the body but of creativity and imagination. Yet to reject nostalgia entirely would also strip life of beauty and depth. Nostalgia reminds us that our lives are layered with meaning, that time is not just numbers on a clock but memories stitched into our being. It teaches gratitude, because when you feel nostalgia, you realize you had something worth missing, and that awareness can inspire you to value the present moment, because today will one day be the memory you long for. At its core, nostalgia is about the human struggle with time. We are creatures who know we cannot go back. We know the past is unreachable, and yet our minds create little time machines out of smells, songs, places, and objects. A certain meal might remind you of family dinners long gone, a certain scent might resurrect an entire chapter of your life, a certain place might hold the echo of laughter that has not been heard in years. These moments transport us for a split second into a world we can never live in again, and that is both tragic and beautiful. If everything lasted forever, nothing would feel precious. Nostalgia is proof that life mattered, that people mattered, that experiences mattered and still matter in the traces they left inside us. Philosophers of memory like Henri Bergson spoke about time as something fluid, not just a straight line from past to future, but a constant blending of moments. Nostalgia embodies this idea because when it strikes, the past bleeds into the present as if the boundary of time has been broken. Bergson called memory a creative force, and nostalgia shows us why, because the way we remember shapes the way we feel and act now. In this sense, nostalgia is not passive remembering, it is active storytelling. We rewrite the past to comfort ourselves, to remind ourselves of who we are, and sometimes even to escape who we have become. Psychologists have found that nostalgia often spikes during times of stress, loneliness, or uncertainty. When the present feels shaky, the past feels safe, so our minds retreat there for shelter. Nostalgia gives us continuity, like a thread connecting our current self to the person we used to be. It reassures us that even though life changes, we are still the same being across time. This is why nostalgia often feels strongest in transitional periods, graduations, moving to a new city, leaving a relationship, because in those moments the past feels like an anchor in the storm. But nostalgia is not always innocent. It can be manipulated. Politics often weaponizes nostalgia by promising a return to some
golden age that never truly existed. Advertising constantly sells us not products but feelings of the past, convincing us that buying something will restore a piece of ourselves we think we lost. The problem is that the past we long for was never as perfect as we imagine it to be. Nostalgia edits out the pain and highlights the joy, giving us a selective memory that can blind us to truth. That is why philosophers warn that while nostalgia can be meaningful, it must also be examined carefully to see whether it is guiding us toward gratitude or trapping us in illusion. Still, there is a profound beauty in nostalgia when we use it wisely. It reminds us that time is fragile, that our connections and experiences are worth cherishing, because they will one day become the very memories that comfort us later. It encourages us to be present not just for ourselves but for others, because we are shaping the nostalgia of someone else without even realizing it. A simple laugh with a friend, a game with a sibling, a walk with a pet, these ordinary moments are future treasures in disguise. Nostalgia whispers that one day you will look back and realize the small things were the big things all along. So the philosophy of nostalgia is not just about missing the past. It is about carrying the past with us without being weighed down by it. It is about letting memory act not as a cage but as a compass, pointing us toward what truly matters. It asks us to remember without being trapped, to long without being broken, to honor the past without abandoning the present. Because in the end, the real question is not whether we should feel nostalgia, but whether we can transform it from longing into meaning, and in doing so live fully in the fleeting gift of now.